Merry Christmas. Let's go shopping.
We're sorry. All services are busy now.
Coin-operated boy sitting on the shelf. He is just a toy, but I turn him on and he comes to life. Automatic joy, that is why I want a coin-operated boy.
Hey, Gene. Welcome to Re-PC Tequila, one of the two e-waste recycling places around the Seattle area. This was the larger of the two stores. However, unfortunately, in recent years, it appears to be slowly pivoting away from much of its retro hardware in favor of more just office PCs and other equipment. They do still have a ton of things like audio gear, monitors, and cases that are useful for things. And then there's buckets upon buckets of just networking gear, routers, things like that. And every kind of cord and adapter you could possibly need. There's also a small little section of vintage electronics if you need capacitors and things. But here's a ton of modems, routers, access points, routers. There's a small clutch of CRTs still. However, they feel like they're being phased out bit by bit. All of these switches are just generic gigabit switches. Anything 10100 tends to be scrapped rather than put on the floor. And anything 10 gig, you're gonna want to get there early because it's gonna just get taken. For some inexplicable reason, there is always an army of printers. So if you ever need a printer and you're in Seattle, this is the place to be. More cables. And over here, some stuff that has quite frankly sat here for at least a couple years. There are a couple items of note that are really expensive, but if you're a frequent customer, they're usually willing to haggle with you. Over here, we've got a growing collection of game consoles. They always have tons of Xboxes, including the lovely Betamax looking Xbox One originals. I don't know why, but they do. This retro area used to be an entire row of old machines of various kinds, Macs, PCs, even Unix workstations, but now is mostly just small form factor office PCs and pretty standard LCDs and other equipment. But there's still these couple machines here that have sat for way too long because they want way too much money for them, quite frankly. Like $275 for a Pentium 1 is a little bit much, especially sitting next to a $100 Celeron. Over here is more just old CRTs that are of not really particular note, but if you need a CRT, it's a place to get them. There's also tons of old keyboards and other weird bits. Over here is where most of the retro gear is left. The memory lane, as they call it. There are just buckets of motherboards of various vintages. So in here we've got some socket 7s, we got socket 478s, 775s. It all tends to kind of get mixed together because people don't put it back where it should be, even though they should. And there's a really expensive Cyrix motherboard there if you want one. More old motherboards, socket 7, and all the RAM you could ever want, as long as you're willing to go diving into a bucket for it and looking through unlabeled DIMMs and try to figure out what you're after. Even more slot 1 motherboards and socket 370 motherboards. If you want to build a Pentium 3, this is the place for it. And some of them are even tested and packaged, but they tend to go for a fair bit more money. Then there's some Core 2 and newer stuff there. And also network cards for days. Something RePC thankfully still does have is just absolute buckets of components. If you need Wi-Fi cards, if you need network cards, if you need really old sound cards, or just weird stuff, there's a very good chance they might have it. They have stacks of floppy drives, stacks of zip drives, and jazz drives. They have boxed Intel network cards, and this weird DSL modem that I was extremely tempted to pick up, but I wasn't easily able to figure out what it was used for. So if it's still there, next time I show up, I might pick it up for future antics. This is just some of the stuff they keep in box that never seems to sell, and I don't know what any of it does because there's really bad internet in the building because it's a giant metal box. But if you need a TV view card, if you need a print server, still in box. But most importantly, if you need not just an Intel 10100 network card, but one still in the box that's flash upgradable, they've got you covered. This next item, though, was extremely tempting to purchase, but did not have a price tag on it. But if it's still there next time, I'm absolutely picking it up, because then I can make a very specific joke with my ISP series that I've been working on.
Welcome to the internet, my friend. How can I help you?
I'm interested in upgrading my 28.8 kilobaud internet connection to a 1.5 megabit fiber optic T1 line. Will you be able to provide an IP router that's compatible with my token ring Ethernet LAN configuration?
Can I have some money now?
But that's another story and another project for another day. Until then, we've got a lovely CompUSA branded 3D sound. If LGR hadn't stopped taking in mail, I probably would have picked that up just to send to him because it's CompUSA and that's very LGR. Over here is where they keep all the weird optical media, like this Ditto drive, which unfortunately is a parallel. Most of the equipment here is parallel. Not USB, not Firewire, not even SCSI. Slow old parallel ports. Which kind of tanks any interest I have in buying any of it, because parallel is a really slow interface. Here's the last section that I was able to film without interfering with other customers. This is mostly just software and graphics cards and other bits. And with that, that completes the tour of RePC. These two little NAS machines I'm going to be putting in a future video, but until then, I hope everyone had a great time, and I will see you in the next video.